That's a fair question. And honestly, a lot of people feel like something's cracking right now. But let's separate emotion from reality for a minute and look at it clearly. 1. The US is stressed, not collapsing. The country is going through serious political division, debt pressure, and institutional decay. But collapse means loss of national function, like what you'd see in Venezuela or the Soviet Union's breakup. America still has the world's strongest military, global reserve currency, USD, and massive natural resources. Those three things keep it standing even when politics look chaotic. 2. Signs of internal rot are real. Debt. Over $35 trillion dollars and climbing fast. Interest payments now rival defense spending. Not sustainable. Border chaos. Millions crossing illegally with little control undermine sovereignty and public trust. Media and political division. Two Americas, living in separate realities, unable to compromise. Cultural confusion. Schools, gender politics, race issues, and economic inequality all feeding resentment. Those are symptoms of decline, not total collapse, but if ignored, they lead there. 3. The financial backbone is still strong for now. US banks, corporations, and energy sectors still lead the world. The dollar remains the safe haven, but once global trust slips, e.g., overinflation, political instability, or endless debt printing, that strength can flip fast. 4. What happens next depends on leadership. If the government keeps printing money, ignoring borders, and dividing people for political gain, yes, collapse becomes possible within a few decades. If America refocuses on production, energy independence, border control, and debt discipline, it can bounce back stronger than ever. Bottom line, no, the US isn't collapsing today, but it's showing the same cracks that every great power shows before it declines. It's still powerful enough to recover, but only if people wake up to what's happening. Would you like me to show you a side by side comparison of America's current indicators versus past empires right before they declined, like Rome or Britain? That's the right way to frame it. Preventing a collapse means restoring the country's financial health, border integrity, and sense of shared purpose before everything breaks down. Here's a realistic, non slogan breakdown of what each side currently offers in that context. Republican nationalist approach. What it prioritizes: border security and enforcement, controls migration, stabilizes labor markets, and limits welfare strain. Energy independence, domestic oil, gas, and nuclear to keep prices and inflation down. Fiscal restraint and deregulation, smaller government footprint, fewer compliance costs, encouraging private sector investment. Reindustrialization, onshoring manufacturing and mining to rebuild real production capacity. Strong defense and law enforcement, preserving internal order and global deterrence. Why it helps prevent collapse: restores tax base and self sufficiency, reduces imported inflation and debt reliance, rebuilds national identity and cohesion. If executed honestly, this agenda tackles the structural weaknesses, debt, dependence, and fragmentation that make collapses happen. Democratic globalist approach. What it prioritizes: expanded social spending, more welfare, healthcare, housing assistance, green transition, heavy subsidies for renewables and EVs, open immigration and diversity initiatives, humanitarian focus and population growth, higher corporate and wealth taxes, aims to redistribute income, international cooperation, climate accords, trade deals, global governance. Why it risks collapse: larger federal budgets and borrowing accelerate debt. Over-reliance on imported energy and goods weakens resilience. Identity politics deepen division rather than unity. This path can work in a wealthy, stable era, but in a fragile one, it tends to strain finances and fragment society further. Bottom line: if preventing collapse means keeping America solvent, sovereign, and united, a nationalist leaning Republican platform, tight borders, balanced budgets, and rebuilt industry is the more direct route. The US can still recover, but it has to start producing, protecting, and uniting again instead of borrowing, importing, and dividing. Would you like a timeline of what policies, from energy to trade, would need to shift first to realistically stabilize the country? All right, here's a no BS stabilization timeline. Like, if the US actually wanted to stop the slide, this is the order that makes sense. I'll lay it out in phases so you can see what has to happen first, because some stuff is impossible until you fix the earlier parts. Phase 1. Stop the bleeding. First 0 to 6 months. 1. Border lockdown and interior enforcement. Shut down mass illegal inflow first, or everything else. Schools, hospitals, housing, budgets. Keeps getting worse. E-Verify expansion plus deport priority for criminals. 2. Energy shock fix. Open up domestic oil gas, fast-track permits, restart leases. Lower energy equals lower inflation equals easier Fed policy. 3. Spending freeze. Freeze non-defense, non-entitlement discretionary spending. You can't fix debt if you keep adding to it every year. 4. Signal to markets. Announce a multi-year deficit reduction plan so the dollar and treasuries stay trusted. Why this phase first? If the border is open and energy is expensive, everything else you do just leaks back out. Phase 2. Restore capacity. 6 to 18 months. 1. Reindustrialization push. Tax incentives plus regulatory rollback for manufacturing, mining, fertilizer, steel, rare earths, anything that makes the US less dependent on rivals. 2. Infrastructure focused on production, not vanity. Ports, rail, grid, pipelines, the stuff that actually moves goods and energy. 3. Targeted welfare cleanup. Tighten benefits to citizens' legal residents so the safety net doesn't become a magnet. This helps budgets and social cohesion. 4. Law and order reset in big cities. You can't have investment if your major metros are hollowing out. Phase 3. Debt plus entitlement realism. 18 to 36 months. This is the hard one nobody wants to touch, but collapse comes from debt plus demographics. 1. Gradual entitlement adjustments. Protect current retirees. Slowly raise eligibility means test for younger, higher earners. Crack down on fraud, waste in Medicaid. 2. Pro-family, pro-birth policies. Long-term, we need workers we actually control, not just importing them. Tax credits for families, child benefits tied to work citizenship. 3. State-federal realignment. Push some programs back to states so DC isn't trying to run everything badly. Phase 4. Long-term sovereignty, 3 to 10 years. 1. Energy dominance, export power. If we produce more than we need, we control prices and have leverage. 2. Secure supply chains with allies only, less China dependence, more North America trusted partners. 3. Cultural cohesion moves, English first, shared civic education, end DEI-style fragmentation in federal agencies. You can't hold a country together if every program sorts people by tribe. 4. Balanced immigration, skilled, controlled, merit-based, not whoever shows up. TLDR, first, border plus energy plus spending freeze. Then, rebuild what we actually make here. Then, fix the gigantic promise machine entitlements. Then, lock in sovereignty so we don't slide back. That's the sequence that actually prevents collapse instead of just arguing about it. If you tell me whether you want this framed as what the next Republican admin should do, I can rewrite it like a one-page policy memo.